Welcome to the show. I understand, in my defense, that I'm off of this week, but something has just called to my attention that needs me. The subject is school lunches. Past couple videos, the first season, second season, I've been discussing to you all about the school lunch safety, from the safety of school lunch to people just giving them a freaking cheese sandwich if they refuse to pay. But that's changed. But that's just one of the things we're going to be focusing on. Just today, as I was scrolling through Chris TV, I saw this. These pictures from Robstown School District, and all these photos, and now the school district is responding to this. Here's Javier Guerra.
Quote, they've missed the mark, but are committed to ensuring the adequate nutrition of students. Imagine getting this for lunch.
So
Not
look,
very appealing. One grandmother decided to post
a tortilla, cheese,
picture to Facebook, which soon became viral. That woman who asked to be called Norma tells us she
cauliflower,
got a call
apple,
from her
and a
grandchild's
pizza.
school principal.
Yes, I had a call from the principal yesterday, and she assured me that there are going to be a lot of changes. They're supposed to have a meeting on Monday.
We reached out to Robstown ISD, and they sent us a statement saying, quote, while we are certain our child nutrition team works tirelessly throughout the school year to prepare meals for students on a daily basis, these photos show that in this case, we've missed the mark, and the meal was distributed without the proper review. They also say they are taking additional steps to monitor meals to make sure this does not happen again. We spoke to a clinical dietitian with Chris Espon, who tells us why it's important students get adequate nutrition during school.
Listen.
So making sure they have adequate nutrition throughout the day, making sure they get their appropriate calories, with proteins and fats and carbohydrates, and all the vitamins and minerals through vegetables and fruit is super important.
Robstown Mayor Gilbert Gomez also echoed that statement, who says he knows sometimes children depend on school food to eat.
I think it is very important that they do get a good meal at lunchtime at the schools. So, and I'm glad that the school is saying that they're going to do better, they're striving to do their best, and that's the way it should be.
The school district is promising to do better. To read the entire statement, you can head to our website. That's ChrisTV.com. Reporting in Robstown, Javier Guerra, Chris 6 News.
And happening tomorrow, Robstown ISD.
And tomorrow, if you live in a Robstown area, you will know that there is a meeting happening at the auditorium to voice your concerns about this issue. Parents and students. So if you live in the Robstown area, you will know. Now, after this aired, I posted on Facebook, and a lot of people were criticized this. I mean, like I said, it's your opinion, but there was a lot of talk. I can't get this to play up here, so I'm gonna have to read this to you while my back is turned. So I apologize. Unless there is a way. Yeah, as I was saying though, this is a big issue. The big issue is this. If you're gonna take your child to school, basically what you need to do is make sure they get the proper nutrition they need. That's the bottom line here. After I posted to a Facebook group, which I am not going to name it, because I don't want Mr. Joe Kramer to know all about this. There were 5 answers. So the question is, have you ever had a school lunch like this happen to you and your child in the Bluff? That's what happened today in Robstown. As photos of the lunch went viral. What does Robstown plan to do about it? Watch to find out. And that told people a lot. And after that, response was amazing. Like I agree with this one. The school went man to lunch, and the school man to lunch looked like that. lunch via government, government via education. Red Vincent said, your tax dollars out at work. Nate says, I know someone who has worked at Fluff Nutrition, and I wouldn't eat the food if my life depended on it. They would open new raviolis and was not served, and it would get put in the trash bag and frozen and used over and over for months. Those are the foods done the same way. That's why the fries were so nasty, cooked, and refrozen over and over. And this one from Anna Marie said, I went to the Bluff and our school lunches were gross. It's your opinion, but those lunch ladies worked very, very hard at what's been happening with all these school lunches. So my advice for you and throughout most of this segment is 3 things. First, if you eat a lunch at home, you bring lunch home in a lunchbox. Number 2, couple things. Few things. One, if you don't like the school lunch, there's so much choice to me. Bring lunch from home or don't eat it. And number 2, don't be driving to nearby food places to call that lunch. That's why it's closed campus for a reason. And because of the virus, no lunch deliveries will be allowed. Sneak your parents in, not going to work. Don't be using any delivery apps. That's not going to work. We need to make sure that our kids get the best nutrition ever. Next, we're going to look at more of the school lunches, especially I'm going to read you that statement from Boston ISD, see what they have to say. There's 2 sides to every story. I talked to Javier Guerra, and people think this is staged. I talked to Javier, he said this wasn't staged. That woman, this was very real. We'll read the statement next. Welcome back. Today, we are going to be looking at school lunches again. This is the 3rd time doing this. After this had happened, after the social media posted, Javier Guerra investigated this, and by looking at pictures from social media, you could tell what had happened. And if you did tell, then what would really happen is you would not eat there. They contacted the school district and they acknowledged the food was not up to the USDA standards. Norma said that the school principal contacted her and said the school is that future food offerings were going to change. While we are certain our child nutrition works tirelessly throughout the school year to prepare meals for students on a daily basis, these photos show that case. We missed the mark and our meal was distributed without proper review. Okay? Parents hoping to see a change soon, and I'm hoping to see that change. And they're saying this won't happen again. I have a problem with that. When you say this won't happen again, almost always next thing out of your mouth, that's a damn lie. In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. That's the bottom line here. If you're going to say this won't happen again, you cross the line. You've got to say, you know what? We need to come up with a plan so that we won't do this ever again. Of course you need to come up with a plan. Why else would you be able to sit there and get away with this? If someone was the head of the school lunch and saw that, the head of the school lunch department would be very, very angry. hold on. We want students, parents, and the school community to know that we're taking a number of immediate steps to take corrective action. We put additional processes in place to monitor our meals served in the classroom. Both staff member and manager will review meals to ensure we meet the USDA standards and we exceed expectations. So, what we now know so far is that if the manager knew about those photos, one of her cooks would not know about this. This all goes back to the cheese sandwich scrap. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, if you didn't pay a certain amount of lunch, if you owed like $20, $30, $26, whatever, you were forced to eat a cheese sandwich. And if you look at all those photos, you would see what I'm talking about. People may sit there and say, I hate it. It tastes like canned food. Ugh. When I was a kid, when I was in school, the only thing we had to do is either eat the lunch. My choice were to eat that lunch or not eat anything at all. Or you bring lunch from home. Now, with people driving their cars to school, people use them to go get food. Unacceptable. And in one of this comment, my suggestion is for her, she either ate at home or went to the obvious reason. Walked across the street to go get food. Prohibited. Safety is number one priority. Period. The mayor looked at that statement . Where it should be. Yes, I agree with what the mayor is saying. The school's saying won't happen. The district saying won't happen again. Well, I have a problem with that. You say it won't happen again. You're basically lying to parents. I don't mean that. I'm saying in some cases you're lying. In some cases you aren't. And all these cases here, all these disgusting lunches. One was burnt. That got the other one fired. If the superintendent superintendent had that lunch earlier that day, she would have fired that manager. She would have talked to the manager and say, what's going on? Why is this disgusting here? And it would have been like, I confess to this. That's what we think really is happening here. Hopefully by tomorrow, the meeting will happen. I talked to Javier before this, and before I did this, I talked to Javier, and there's gonna be school council tomorrow. Meaning there is gonna be a meeting. And I told him what happened, and I said, and I agree with Javier. He's not staged, and I'll be watching for updates. But there's more to this lunch controversy when we return, and then a bit later, we're going to bring you the very latest on I'm going to bring you the very latest on the free speech controversy that happened. I told you about this last week. No, I told you about this like a month or two ago. Where this person decided to post on Snapchat, F the school, F this, and then she got suspended from cheerleading. And so she was on CNN. That's later. Tonight we're still looking into the school lunches, and this time we're going to focus on three articles. The question for this next one has a question in it. The question is, as a parent How would you feel if your child was being denied that was forced not to pay, and yet the school calls foster care, and then have the foster system, and then have the system put your child into foster care? That's what happened about a year ago in Pennsylvania. School districts would send out letters to parents saying, if you don't pay for your lunch, we'll take your child away. Now, if you were in Pennsylvania last year, you would know exactly what happened. If you heard about this, then what you would do is simply say, this ain't right. And this one, 509 members of the school board criticized the letter. But the officials say they collected more than $500 of the $22,000 owed in school lunch money. Anonymous donors have chipped in. Board members say they were blindsided by the letter's threatening language. The other members agree, as does school administrator Joe Muth, who signed that letter, sent it to 1,000 parents. This unit distributed free lunch to 4 elementary and middle schools, and officials think some parents did not pay as a form of protest. What about those kids? They're still going to be in foster care or take back to the parents? If those kids are still in foster care, they should be taken back. And this person says the letter wrongly assumes families can pay. She pointed to a letter to another who owed $75. I mean, the foster system is not going to help. And that person who signed that letter, that member should have been fired. If you signed that letter and admit that it was wrong, you should have quit your job and say, you know what? We should now be taking kids to foster care. What we need to do is come up with a better plan. We should have everyone get free or discounted lunch for everyone. Can't do that, then too bad. That's your choice. Choose the behavior, choose the consequences. Number 2, if you lived in the Lee County schools, you would know that back in 2016, there were some nasty food pictures talking about this, a pink chicken. And in the nachos, there was an item that should not have been there. To quote Gordon Ramsay, this chicken is pinker than your fucking lipstick. I'd have to agree. With that. And the nachos, that item specifically was in there. But those statements, we serve about 100 meals each day, lacking any establishment. The item in nacho chips appears to be something that entered the packaging. Oftentimes the total decay is not noticeable from the outside. And they couldn't comment about the chicken. They knew the chicken was pink. You need to cook the chicken to 165 degrees. That's the whole point. If you're going to work at a food place or a school lunch, what you need to understand, you need to make sure you know about food safety. That is the requirement if you're going to apply for school lunches or in a restaurant and or a fast food restaurant. You've got to understand about food safety. There is no excuse. If you don't know anything about what is happening, you be sitting there scratching your head like, what are we talking about here? You should know that when you're going into school lunch, you need to make sure you know about food safety, you need to make sure you wash your hands often, and you need to make sure you don't cross-contaminate. That's the rule. How about this final article? see if I can find it. How being served marinara sauce, carrots, and a non-cheese dog. What is that? A cheese on a bun. Unacceptable. Don't. If you get that, throw it away. There was another one about. I think I remember. I can't find the other one. Well, the other one said it was all about the. Trying to think. It was all about that those burnt foods. That person was fired, and the matter should have been taken. The superintendent said he wouldn't eat that, and it won't happen again. I have a problem with that. All right, coming up the latest. All right, when we come back here, the latest on that free speech thing. Stay with us. Now to a story I think you may remember. You may remember a month or two ago, I focused in on free speech in schools. This was the case of Randy Levy, who posted a Snapchat. It said, F school, F this, F something. She said, F school, F cheer, F softball, F everything. After that, the other person screenshot that, showed her picture to the coach, and then she was disqualified. She was not allowed to join. After that, and then days later, she went to the Supreme Court. Now, probably many people have to side with the school on this. Can public schools discipline children for something to say off campus? Yes. You may have different opinions here, but what I have an issue with, the Supreme Court may side with the school district, and many people may side with the parents. If you say something off campus, whether it's practice, if you post it on campus, you're gonna get into a lot of trouble. Like that person who got expelled, who was a senior who got expelled from school for saying the F word on Twitter. Like F is the word, F it goes F F F F F F F. But keep in mind, this was a 14-year-old. And this was on television President for a court on which several justices school-age children recently did. Lower courts agreed to the cheerleading team, and the Supreme Court believes that there has been potential success from takers, and they're also aware. I'd have to agree with the school. They could discipline over free speech. There's no arguing about that. That's all for this emergency edition of Break Wednesday. I'm off about the rest of the day, so I'll see you again Sunday. Have a good night, everyone.